and welcome everybody here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin, and I've lost every marble I could find in my brain. It's been a couple of days, and I don't know. I this might be it. I just might pass out and just die. I don't know. I've fully lost every brain cell I think possible at this point in time. While I'm here, I guess my name is Andrew Valentin. I think I don't know what dimension I'm in anymore. It has preferably been lost. and by any chance, if you hear noises whilst I speak, just be prepared. We've got some new stuff that has been sorry, that has been since added to our show. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody out there is having a, what day is it today? Friday. Yes, thank you. Yes, it's Short Fuse Friday. Oh my God. Right, Short Fuse Friday. I'm so sorry, folks. Oh, I feel insane, Scotty, and I wonder why. Oh, boy. Folks, I hope everybody's having a great day. We are coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School in the O'Hare campus. If you guys want to check us out anymore, we are obviously live on YouTube and on Twitch as well. If you guys want to see any more of what we have in store for you, too, we also have our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff at XBomb Sports, where you guys can go follow us. And we have questions. And that's what today is going to be, questions, because we didn't do our show on Monday. So I compiled all the questions that basically were asked by everybody about what was going on in this week's sports, even up to today, and basically threw it into today to kind of answer these questions personally for you guys as well, but also to just kind of go over the big events of the week too. So with all that being said, again, ladies and gentlemen, it is X-Bomb Sports fan questions here, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have any questions, as always, xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. Hit us up in the email at any questions, any comments. Like, how's my sanity doing? It's not great right now. Why? He's sitting over there. So, yeah, sure, yeah. Now he moves. So, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, again, if you have any questions, comments, things like that you want to send to us, please send it to us at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys on that stuff. Anything you want to ask us, by all means, Short Fuse Fridays will be the place where we answer it, be it sports, non-sports. I had a few non-sports ones that I got prepared for this one, but I thought let's just kind of stick to sports on this, and then we'll go to the non-sports ones next week. So be prepared for that. If I did not answer them, I apologize. But I will also email you back personally as well to answer those questions too. So, but I want to also, again, thank everybody who did ask these questions. So without further ado, ladies and gents, let us get into these questions. So the first one we got, this comes from Kyle. And Kyle's straight here from Chicago, Illinois. He said, basically, Andrew, I got to go. Your thoughts on what Juan Soto's new deal means for you and the Mets. Do you think that the Mets are a playoff contending team? Do you think that this means a World Series is now within their future? It's a lot of money to give one guy, but he sure seems to be worth it. Give me your thoughts, ladies and gents. Well, first, Kyle, thank you for the question. I do appreciate it. All right, so, yeah, if you don't know the news by now, I mean, I don't know how you don't. Juan Soto signs a $765 million deal. By the way, not deferred money. This is right in his pocket. Money's made, guaranteed. It's there, which is insane, obviously. It's the biggest contract in Major League Baseball. It's the biggest contract in sports, which obviously I know there's a lot of mixed reviews by some folk. There's a lot more, though, that are certainly very positive and very energetic about the whole movement for Juan Soto. But honestly, I understand it. I know that it was kind of a toss-up between all the top teams because they are the ones that can obviously afford Juan Soto. And certainly there was a lot of talk that Soto would listen to what the Yankees had to offer, and there was a big push made by the New York Yankees to try and make sure he stayed with the team. But Cohen, being a very rich owner that runs the Mets, he has the pockets to be able to open it up and say, whatever he wants, we'll give him. I mean, I said it before on Blow the Whistle. You look at that team, there are guys across the board on that roster, other than, I would say, Francisco Lindor, that are probably overpaid by maybe $50+ million. Like, he has to overpay in order to get some real quality athletes on his team. And understandable, right? The market has certainly pushed in that direction, and this will not do any favors, of course, but at the same time, he's on a different level, right? He and Ohtani and a handful of other guys, they're on different levels. So this is kind of an outlier, nevertheless. But it does signal, I would say, to Major League Baseball that the Mets are vying for the opportunity now to say, we've got to the playoffs. Now we have this crucial championship caliber piece in our lineup. This will hopefully take them over the top and put them back in the World Series, right? That's clearly what they're reaching for, right? You had Lindor, who just had this MVP season, right? Leading that team, carrying it almost in times to victory after victory. Now you give him one of his friends, a guy he has chemistry with, and also one of the best in baseball by far. It's a magical thing to actually look at on paper. Whether it works out or not is obviously going to be determined once the season starts. But for what it's worth, this is the type of move that you need to make when you're potentially on the cusp and you want to get over the hump. This is the kind of guy you go get, right? You go get a Bryce Harper, maybe not now, but in his prime, right? Or you go get an Aaron Judge, or you go get a Shohei Ohtani. You go get those guys that are impact players in Major League Baseball for your team, right? In any sport, if you think you're on the brink of being a championship team, you want to make that one move that can certify you and take you over the hump and be there at the top of the mountain. And this feels like that move for the Mets. Now, don't get me wrong, they still have holes they have to fill, right? They need to find a rotation, like a decent to solid rotation, and they have to secure more for their bullpen, of course, as well. But nevertheless, for the Mets, as it sits right now, I thought it was a solid move. I thought it's a great move. Now, whether it translates to World Series titles, that's hard to say right now, right? I mean, the Dodgers felt like a World Series team once they got Ohtani, of course, but they were already a World Series roster without him, I thought. Like, that was just like okay, we're stamping it. Like, we're putting our name on the trophy before the season's even started. That's what that felt like. This is kind of that, okay, we needed that push. Here's the push, right? Now it's a matter of filling out the rest of the roster, getting to training camp, getting ready for the season, and hopefully finding the best 40 guys for that roster to go through 162 games. You know, you're hoping maybe you have 2 MVP caliber players again in Lindor and Soto. Out of the rest of those guys, I mean, you got to figure out like what happens now with Pete Alonso. The news just broke, by the way, too, that Kyle Tucker's been traded to the Cubs. So now does Pete Alonso, where does he go next now, too? There's going to be a lot of questions that the Mets are going to have to answer. They're going to have to figure some things out. They may have to still go into free agency. They may have to go into their farm system and start pulling guys and start figuring out, well, who can we move up? Who are we going to try? Who are we going to trade for? All these big moves and motions that they can make in order to make sure that team is solidified. This was a good move. This is a great move. Though the argument can be made, and I always do this, seeing both sides of the coin, paying him over $700 million, that money certainly could have been used on probably, 3, maybe 4 primo players, right? Possibly you could have secured yourself a Max Fried and Corbin Burns, maybe paid Pete Alonso and possibly added a decent outfielder, maybe a good guy out there, maybe trade and sign him to a bigger contract. I don't know who would have been available out there off the top of my head, but I do have to think about that as well. As good as Soto is, and he certainly is one of the best, what you also could have had in terms of maximizing the entire roster also needs to be talked about as well, because you could have. You could have probably gotten those guys. I'm sure there was interest in there. From what we understand, Max Fried was looking at the Mets, but it wasn't too hard of a look. We knew he was hard up on being a Yankee. Corbin Burns still might be a Met for all we know. I mean, who's to say Cohen's not willing to pay up? But at the same time, I think he's just playing his option out to see, well, where can I go? Where's the best spot for me? Because Baltimore felt like it was kind of a test. Like, let's see how good this young team is. Okay, we did all right. But how much longer do I have left? How much more can my arm take? Where can I go that it can have a little bit more buffer with the offense, have a little bit better rotation around me? I mean, the Yankees are still in play. From what I hear, the Mets are still in play. There's a lot of teams that still are in play for Corbin Burns. He's listening to all and any offers, but he clearly wants to go to a championship caliber team, right? He wants to go to a team that has the opportunity to go to the World Series and put rings on his finger. So for the Mets, I mean, as good a move as this is, yes, you could have certainly gotten a lot of premier players, excuse me, to help this team out. But overall, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a great move for the Mets. As long as this translates into wins, playoff appearances, and a chance to go to the World Series, once or twice, I would say. I mean, in the time you have him under contract, I'd hope you'd be able to at least make the World Series 3-4 times, capture the title twice or 3 times. I'm not saying a dynasty, but I mean, you look at that roster, they are fairly younger than I would say the Yankees. You seem to be a lot healthier. And you just got to figure out your rotation in the bullpen, and that team's going to be pretty solid. They got the heart. They got the energy. They got the owner that's willing. I mean, White Sox fans, I hope they take a page out of this one on this is what big league ball teams do. You know, and it's not against White Sox fans necessarily. It's against the White Sox because of who their owner is and the fact that he clearly is all about not wanting to pay his taxes but wanting to get all the money he can, right? I mean, how much does he really care about the White Sox at this point? Probably very little. Probably very little, honestly. As much as he sounds like he's invested in it, I highly doubt that, honestly. I really do. But yeah, for the Mets, it's a solid move. I like it. I think it's one that's going to be able to translate into playoff appearances. Hopefully a World Series or two will be able to be in their sights. I think you're just hoping, though, that a championship you better hope a championship's not coming around the block, though. You know, I wouldn't say by next year they're going to be winning the World Series. Dodgers are still going to be the high favorites. But you ask me, the Mets, top 3, top 5 easily now? They should be in that discussion, if anything. If anything else at the least, you better win your division. That's what I would say. Win your division. Otherwise, criticism is going to rain from all over. So that's it for Juan Soto. Thank you, Kyle, for the question. We appreciate it, man. Next question. This came from Daniel. Daniel is actually from New York City, New York. Daniel asked the question. I'm not going to do a New York accent. I'm too tired for that. I'm not going to now. God. Scotty, jeez. Attitude all day from this kid. My goodness. This is from Daniel from New York. He's asking about Josh Allen, and this came from, obviously, his big game he had against the Rams. He said, after the performance he had against the Rams with 6 total touchdowns, 3 in the air, 3 on the ground, do you think Josh Allen is the front runner for MVP? Could this be the season that he finally does win MVP for the season? And is that going to be able to be enough to secure him as a Hall of Famer? Okay, I'm going to answer the last part first. That's not going to be enough to put him, I think, in the Hall of Fame, unfortunately. Bills Hall of Fame, sure, or Ring of Honor, whatever you want to call it. Not the Hall of Fame. Do I think he has a shot? Sure. He's got a shot. I would still say Lamar is the front runner for me, personally. I know that there's really 4 main candidates, I would say. 5 technically if you throw in Derrick Henry, but I'm kind of discounting him on that right now. There's 4 really, I think, that are big on this, right? Josh Allen's 1, Lamar Jackson's 1, then you've got Saquon as 1, and then I would say Jared Goff would probably be like your 4th guy in. You know, I mean, and that's just me. I'm looking at the stats, the records, all that stuff. I'm compiling all of that, how much they contribute to the teams, and I don't know. I think Josh Allen has a good shot. I mean, I do always like to do the whole, we'll take the guy off the team, and what is the team, right? I do like to do that because I think that's a fair evaluation to some degree. It's not the whole kit and caboodle, folks, but I think it's a part of the argument, right? I mean, take Josh Allen off of Buffalo. That team is probably below 500, maybe barely sitting at 500. Take Lamar off of Baltimore. That team is probably still sitting well above 500. I mean, Saquon off of Philadelphia. That team is maybe just above 500, probably, maybe just above. And then Jared Goff not on the Lions. I don't know if the Lions are having anywhere near this kind of a season. I don't know. So, and again, that's not to say that, well, then Jared Allen should win MVP. No. That's just part of it. Look, for me, I think what Lamar's doing, though, is he's having this historic season right now for Baltimore where they are riding strong. Now, I get it. Baltimore is suffering, but they're suffering because their defense is lacking tremendously, right? That's my argument, is that he's doing everything he can to keep Baltimore in the fight, to keep them in the game, right? Josh Allen is working with average, above average, maybe good pieces. I mean, he's really putting in the extra effort to carry Buffalo, I would say, to win after win. Now, I get it. There's a lot of people talking up Saquon. I get that too. And I understand. And my argument would be that if Saquon breaks the single-season rushing record set by Eric Dickerson, I would say give him the MVP. I truly believe that. Even if he breaks 2,000 yards, I would still say he's probably got the best shot then to win MVP. I mean, I just know there's going to be bias against him because quarterbacks, right? That's what happens, right? Lamar's a star. Josh Allen's a star. They're doing great things. Their teams are winning, you know. And Saquon, listen, he is clearly carrying that offense right now because Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown sound very upset with how the passing game is going. And quite frankly, I mean, I get it. I understand. And I think a lot of that comes down to head coach and OC probably not getting along, right? One guy's the O-line coach from Indianapolis. The other guy is this high-powered passing quarterback from college that's now a high-powered passing offensive coordinator from the Dallas Cowboys and the Chargers, mind you, right? All teams, by the way, he's gone to so far have been playoff bound. Keep that in mind. Kellen Moore has been good for what any team has been passing-wise. So, I mean, I get it. I get Saquon. I get the argument there. I understand. Josh Allen has a shot. I would probably say Lamar's going to win it. The numbers are there. The wins are there. I still think they might have a chance. Now more than ever, I think they got a chance to win the division. I would love to say these boys right here, the Bengals, could do it. But until they get some defense on the other side of the ball, Joe Burrow is going to have to throw till his arm falls off, and that just stinks. It just hurts, man. It really does. But anything's possible, right? What he did against the Rams, phenomenal. Absolutely incredible. It goes to prove what kind of a quarterback, what kind of a football player he is. But is it MVP worthy? It's worth being a finalist, I would say. But I don't know if he's the way he wins MVP at this point is they have to win out. And he would have to have an average of 2.5, 3 touchdowns a game, like through the air and on the ground. He would have to average about 3 touchdowns a game, I would say, air and ground total, to be able to win MVP. And Buffalo would have to win out. They got the division locked up easily. Nobody's touching them right now. So, I mean, there's a shot. It's slim, but there's a shot. We'll see, though. We will see. Obviously, again, though, let me know, folks. I know everybody's going to be very divided on this. Everybody's going to have their own thoughts and ideas on who should be the MVP. I get it. I understand. I know. You know, personally, I'm all for maybe giving some of these kickers an MVP shot at this point, because after what I saw in this last game on Thursday night, man, we might be in for some doozies, folks. Whew, man, NFL football is looking really rough lately. Holy cow! All right, but thank you for the question. We appreciate it, man. All right, next. This came from Anton. Anton is from Atlanta, Georgia. And he said, Kirk Cousins bad, Michael Penix time. Thoughts? Fair enough. It's not really, it's like still a question. It's still a question, so. If you guys don't know, Michael Penix Jr., backup quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, there's a lot of people now calling for him to be the starting quarterback after Kirk Cousins over the last 4 games has thrown 0 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Falcons obviously 0-4 off of those performances from Kirk Cousins. Now the question is being asked about if Michael Penix Jr. is the right guy to take over for Kirk Cousins, despite the fact that Atlanta is still in the hunt for the division and a playoff spot. I think it might be time. I know they paid him a lot of money, and I know that's the reason why to keep Kirk Cousins around. But at some point, and I don't know how many people saw the clip from John Gruden, right, on Barstool Sports. He was saying about, you throw 8 interceptions in 4 games, you're getting benched. He said, I would do it. And I agree with John Gruden on that. You start performing on that level, I'd probably bench you too. I don't care how much money you're making. I would definitely probably bench you. But he did then say something that made me think. Because we were there live at the draft when we saw Michael Penix Jr. go 8th overall, and we all stood there. Well, we sat there stunned. I mean, David ran off because he couldn't believe it. He was shocked. But we were all there at the draft when that happened, right? We were all there. And Gruden said something that was interesting, and that was that if the Falcons might know something that we don't know. And then he said if he was good enough to play, he'd be starting right now. And I thought about that. And I said, you know what? I think he's got a point. Because as much as you are paying Kirk Cousins, I would say by now his performances have been detrimental more than anything to the Falcons, right? I mean, clearly. So why would you not maybe give the rookie a chance, knowing that, yes, your playoff spot is on the line? That money does come with a playoff spot, that the reputation is there as well for teams that are looking to maybe want to go to the Falcons and say, hey, they did make a playoff, and they do have money to spend, so maybe I want to go there. All of that is certainly very possible. I understand, though, where people are kind of like, well, hold on now. They're not going to make that move. Kurt's worth too much money. Of course. Absolutely. He's getting paid a lot of money. And also, you don't want to disrupt chemistry. What chemistry is there, though? Again, 8 interceptions in 4 games. That's not chemistry for me. That's disconnect to the nth degree. Like, that's a problem. That is sinking. That is basically drilling a hole in your ship and going like, yeah, we can still make land. I mean, what are you thinking? Like, he's thrown really bonehead passes that have been intercepted and taken back for touchdowns, right? And obviously, look, Atlanta saw what he was doing last year, what he's done over his career, and said, well, this is what quarterbacks are worth now, and paid him a lot of money. When you maybe didn't have to, but this is what the market demanded. And then, obviously, they all confused us when they took Michael Penix Jr., when they easily could have taken Jared Verse, or they could have taken any of the best defensive players on the board, or could have possibly taken a wide receiver to help out the passing game for Kirk Cousins. They could have done a lot of different things. And I think I can speak for most people. When you take a quarterback in the top 10, the expectation is that's going to be a franchise quarterback. That's going to be a dude for you. That's going to be a guy. If not now, for the future. I think now's the time for Atlanta to be able to see what he's going to do. But I understand where they're going to convince themselves, well, look, we're paying Kurt this much money. We have a playoff position. He's the more experienced quarterback. We have to stick with our guy. Your guy is wasting away the season. That's what I don't get. You're going to chance it because you semi-believe in him because he's the more experienced player? And you're just going to convince yourself, well, we can't have the $40 million backup. Okay, but if Michael Penix Jr. gets you those extra 4 wins and secures you a better playoff spot and the division win, what's the problem? Not only that, but now he gets in-game experience that you can then carry over, and you can use every resource in your box to be able to say, we can just cut ties with Kirk Cousins and move away. It's simple as that, but I get it. I understand. I don't agree with it, but I know the move is sitting there for everybody for it to happen, right? The answer could be right there. Obviously, it could go sideways. Of course, it could be all completely wrong. It could be terrible. But I don't know. I think this is a high risk, high reward situation for the Falcons where you go, look, we either make the playoffs or we lose out from here, but our young quarterback gets experience and we get to see how much he's done at 24 years old, because guess what? Next year he turns 20, or this year he turns 25. And then you've got 4 more years with him to get him in there, unless you cut Kirk Cousins now and say he's the starting quarterback going forward. Like, the sooner you can get him in there, the more opportunity he's going to have to be able to play, and the more chances you're going to be able to have to say, do we have the right guy or not? Honestly, like, it's been a rough season for them for the most part. They've had their wins. They're in position. Can they pull it off? Who knows? It's Atlanta. They're so middle of the pack. They're so mid-tier. And they only just get here. They can never get here to that next level. Food for thought, Atlanta, man. Food for thought, Falcons. Consider it a time, and I put it in the lower third. The flock leader needs to change, maybe. Time for somebody else to man that flying V, to go south. Might be time. Anton, thank you for the question, man. Appreciate it. All right, so this next question, this comes from Damien. Damien is asking us this from Iowa City, Iowa. He said, college football playoff. Yes, I know, Scotty. Scotty approves of Iowa City, Iowa. He said, college football playoff. Now, if I got to ask you about it, do you think the committee got this right? Do you think that their decision-making was they made the proper decisions on this? Who do you think should have been in, if not SMU or any other team that's in the college football playoff right now? This is such lose-lose on college football playoff, honestly, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? If they put in Alabama, everyone screams bias, they get yelled at. If you put in SMU, you kept Alabama out of the college football playoff, everyone's mad at you, they yell at you, right? There's no middle ground with this, unfortunately, for some people. Scotty? Can I make a case for? Sure, I think I can make a case for Alabama. Right. Yes. Right. 9-3, the only case, and I'm saying this is the only case I think you could make, right? I don't see any other one. They have 4 ranked wins. That's it, though. That's it. That's a slim margin, but that would be enough, I feel, to make the college football playoff say, well, they did beat 4 ranked teams. But the opposite side of it, right, exactly, and that's where you lose it, right? You lost to you lost to Tennessee, which isn't a hard loss because Tennessee's been decent all year long. Right. But then you lose to Vanderbilt, unranked at the time, right? Then you get blown out at Oklahoma, unranked, and ends up 6-6. That's an issue. That's a problem. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely agree. Look, I think the College Football Playoff Committee, I think they did get it right for what it is. This is the first time they're doing it. It's not an easy selection process. I do think SMU deserved to be in there. I think they proved themselves enough to Clemson. I know Clemson winning the ACC automatically puts them in. I don't think Clemson is very deserving of being in there. I know. I'm still, yes, and they play at 12, and that's fine. I wish Miami would have beat Syracuse because I think that would have been so much better for the playoff. But that's a little biasy on my part, wanting to see a good quarterback with good players on offense, at least, if anything. I know their defense is crap. I get that. But there's so much more, I think, with Miami than there is with Clemson. But I get it, too. Clemson had the better record in the ACC. They're in the ACC championship. I'm not going to take that away from them at all, right? I do think they made it right. I do think keeping Miami and Alabama out, that was a hard call. You could also make the argument for South Carolina, too. They were a hot team. They were on a roll. However, being at 9-3, they were going to sit behind as well, unfortunately. Bama's just got a little bit more superiority power over them, and that's the problem. And South Carolina's losses, too, also hurt them as well. Now, granted as well, they had 4 ranked wins, too. They had every reason to make an argument just as much. But I will say this again, too, just quickly for the playoff stuff. I have a distinct feeling now, as I believe others do too, the big dogs in the playoff will now emerge, and the smaller teams, Indiana, Boise State, all these other schools, I think they will struggle immensely with these issues going forward. So, look, again, for me, the struggle is that there are other teams I think that are far more rewarding than Clemson because I just don't think they're that good of a team. But I get it. You win. You're in. You have the conference record. You're going to be in the conference championship. I can't take that away from them, unfortunately. It's upsetting because the football fan in me wants to see the best football. And even though their defense is bad, I think Miami would have been great for the college football playoff, because of the exciting game that at least they could have had for a matchup at the 12th seed or wherever they would have been had they won the ACC or even lost the ACC. I think they still would have been in there. So I understand and I get it. I get it. This is the first year, though. I'm willing to kind of get this one slide by. I'm not going to be too argumentative about it because it's brand spanking new. But thank you for the question, man. I appreciate it, Damian. It's rough, but it's the first year. I think everybody just needs to calm down, take a chill pill, relax. We're still going to see probably some really good college football getting played, and the best teams, I think, will still match up and will still have a good playoff matchup nevertheless. A championship game will be played, and it will be, I think, still a good championship game, okay? I believe in that. Last but not least, this comes from Michael. This came from a lot of different people, but Michael specifically was the first one to email me on this. Bill Belichick has accepted the head coaching position at UNC. How do you see him doing at UNC? Do you think he'll be able to work in the college system in college football? My initial reaction was surprise, but he wants to coach. He wants to coach. So I get it. I understand. It's a good move. It's a smart move. I don't know if it's going to translate to him being a national championship winning coach or anything, but I think he's going to have success. He'll get the recruits in. He's got the NFL pipeline, and he's got the evaluating team around him and Mike Lombardi and all these other guys that he's worked with in the past that he'll find the diamonds in the rough. He'll put together a roster that's going to be pretty talented. They're going to be good. They're going to be good. They're not going to be great, I don't think. It's still UNC. I don't think it's going to be a drawing place for 5 stars. I think a lot of people might get turned off by Bill's older age, his military way of coaching. You know, that so-called Patriot way. He'll try to make it the Tar Heel way. Guys will buy in, yes, but there will be a lot of guys that won't buy in. But luckily, he'll be able to say, well, then go to the transfer portal. Bye. See you later. Right? I mean, he did it in the NFL. He can do it again in college. And that's the thing I think that will help him too, is the college system has now converted so much to being like the NFL system with NIL and transfer portal and all that stuff and negotiations and deals. He now has a feel for that in the NFL, and now he's bringing it to college where it's the same feeling, so it's a lot easier. And I agree with what a lot of people are saying. We will probably see a much more fun and energetic Bill Belichick, a guy who will enjoy himself a lot more than we have seen in the past with him. There's a lot of interest around the story. I get it. Where he could potentially fail again is he brings that older, begrudged, curmudgeon kind of, style. Guys don't really buy into his whole Patriot, Tar Heel way, whatever it might be, right? Maybe there are some guys he runs off because of NIL and all that stuff from playing time that, he doesn't want to deal with, so they go off, but they actually do better things, and the team gets worse for it. There's a whole lot of factors that obviously it's all what ifs and what could be's and all that kind of stuff. But I think you have to consider it because Bill is a little bit of a prickly guy. He's not changing for anybody, right? He certainly seems more happy, I will say, since leaving coaching. He seems more upbeat, more peppy. Might also be the 24-year-old girlfriend he has. Don't know. But I think it could work. I think it could. It's a rough one though. It's a rough sell for me. Still at the same time. Because at 72 years old, you're coming into your first ever college football head coaching position. You haven't had a real understanding of the landscape that is the ACC or all that stuff. I mean, I don't know how much college football he really watches other than like tape and everything for recruits. So maybe he does. Maybe he has a better understanding than I even give him credit for. But when you're not in that environment consistently, I don't know. I feel like some coaches really struggle with that. Right? Like you better have a good vibe on how the college ranks work. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself 88 and out the gate. But this is Bill Belichick. He knows football. He knows football better than most others. I'm not willing to put major doubt on him. But there's a small amount that's going to go, this could go sideways very quickly. But I'm more intrigued than ever to see exactly what the college football, or what UNC does in the ACC, in college football, how he matches up. I'm really interested to see how this matchup with Scott Frost goes. Scott Frost lives at the monument of Bill Belichick and his coaching stuff. So that's going to be a fun game, I think. Right? Never got coached by Belichick, never worked with him, but has always had a great respect for Belichick. That's going to be an intriguing one. Thank you for the question, man. I appreciate it. We appreciate all these questions, guys. And that's going to do it for the Short Fuse Friday here, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Scotty, sorry, I didn't see it. Please. Okay. All right. So real quick before we end this show out, should this be allowed? Scotty's basically saying somebody benched their players so somebody could not get in the playoffs for their fantasy football. A whole matchup. I would say that'd be tampering in some way, right? I would say there'd be tampering. I mean, this would go into the level of, are they colluding with each other? Are they trying to bump this guy out purposely and all that stuff? It would feel like that for sure. So I would say yes, because in some way, and I go, right. So I would say, right. I would say there's a, yeah, right. Yes. I would say there's tampering there. I would say there's, if anything, there's a penalty there where if you have draft picks, that dude should be getting like top 3 pick. Like, that would be my thing, is like, I don't know how that whole fantasy thing works for everybody. It's all different, obviously, right? It's different for everybody. But in some way, I would say penalize those dudes and make them pick last, and that guy gets, like, I would say top 3 pick. Or he gets, like, the chance to randomly try and see if he can get the number 1 pick, right? You make his odds greater for that number 1 pick, or however you want to do it, right? Or if it's a race, you give him, like, a 10-second head start. I don't know, something like that. That's some cheapo crap, by the way. That's really... I don't like that. I don't like that. I mean, rules are rules. You can do what you want. But at the same time, I feel like that's a little bit of a scummy move. But yeah, folks, that's. Thank you, Scotty. I appreciate that. That was a good added insight. I have had a lot of questions for fantasy football. I've wanted to keep them kind of under wraps a little bit more, just because I know the season's wrapping up, and a lot of it has been add this player, drop this player. What do you think? It's too much, guys. It's too much. I can't. This has been the year of, like, yeah, add DeMarcus Robinson. He's going to have a 30-point game. It's like one of those years, right? It's the random dude that all of a sudden has like a 50-point, spark. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't even draft my team. My team was auto-drafted. I forgot I was in the league, and I just was first in the league. Suck it, Dustin Lingaman. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. If my team wins the championship, I am so gloating that. I'm so looking over all your little notes and everything. I forgot we were even drafting, and my team was first. Just saying. We'll see if I can win the playoff, though, obviously. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the show. If you guys enjoyed this one, obviously, again, you can find us on YouTube, on Twitch. We are streaming live every Monday, every Friday at about 10 or 12, depending. If you guys want to catch us anymore, obviously the social media stuff is there as well, at XBomb Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where you guys can find us. And again, questions like these, we appreciate them so much. Any questions about sports, non-sports stuff, quit sending me fish stuff, please. I'm begging you. Stop. Yes, I know. Scotty's here, and he heard fish because, man, he went off on fish one of these games. Please send it to us. Again, that's xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. Please make sure to catch Bad Karma Wrestling every Friday. It's your boys, Neil Gimmick Johnson and David Dexter. They just went, so check that out as well. That's on the YouTube and on the Twitch, too. Our boy Scotty Kiefer is also a part of that, too, even though he gave me a headache today. But I love him. God, we were so good all the way through. On top of that as well, Blow the Whistle every Monday and Wednesday. This Monday we'll be going live, and then Wednesday we'll be doing a short show because we're going to be having a little kind of get-together with a wonderful little group of ours coming from a radio station, so be on the lookout for that too, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that's everything. I think that's all the stuff, so thank you so much for watching and listening. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys all so much, and we will see you guys on the next show. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.